Hey, so welcome guys to today's show. This is Fast Forward Podcast 3. I'm Jeff Poisner, DJ Recognize. Today's guest is Scotty Elliott, Richard Mixon, DJ Richard Mixon. And we got back here JohnyVinyL, Juan Pacheco. Let's just get on with it. So let's just start with what does the name Richard Mixon mean to you?
It's I shouldn't give this away because people are going to know my aliases now, but it's kind of funny. I'm actually move over the camera here a little bit. So I've always gone by my middle name, which is Scott, ever since kind of as I can remember. My real first name's actually Richard. So it came time for so it's Richard Scott Elliott, right? So what better way to come up with an alias than to kind of reverse it and use my first name for that? And somewhere along the line, many years ago, and just in some political research, I thought Richard Nixon sounds like Richard Mixon, and that's the name I should adopt. And it took a while. I went by Scotty for a long time when I was playing hip hop top 40 clubs, and then when I made the change just doing full house music, then it was on.
It's cool. It's easy to remember for me. You know, you don't forget. But some people think it's Richard Nixon. I'm like, no, Richard Mixon. Like,
right.
Oh,
and then I have to say,
Mixon.
I am not a crook.
Good. Okay. So, but did you ever go to did you ever go by Scotty E at all?
I did, yeah, for a long time when I was playing top 40. When I was playing top 40 clubs, that was kind of what I went by. And
okay.
When I made the decision to just do house music, I thought, new format, new me. We'll change it up a little bit.
Yeah, and I noticed some DJs do that. They kind of change their name throughout, and sometimes it's really cool. It's all about the timing and stuff like that, right?
Right.
So glad it worked out. So I guess just let's go back in time and just how did this whole music thing start for you just at all?
I've always been a musician. I played piano since I was 4 or 5 years old. And a good friend of mine, close to 20 years ago now, I guess, bought some turntables and had a bunch of vinyl, and he didn't have a place to store any of it. And so I said, well, I'll build you a little studio, and you can bring all your stuff over here, and we'll have a place for you to play and practice. And I'd say in the time of about 6 months, he came by maybe 2 or 3 times and practiced. And one night I thought, I can count to 4 like everybody. I'm gonna figure this out. So I just started digging through his crates and playing around with all of his records. And about 6 months into it, a friend of ours, mutual friend, threw a house party, and I came up to him and I said, "Hey, let me try this." And oh well, you don't know. No, just let me try. I didn't tell anybody I was doing any of this. Right? Cut a couple tracks back and forth and surprised the hell out of everybody. And I was like, yeah, I've been practicing for an hour or 2 every night.
Right.
And then then from there it was just some small local bars, and I mean that's still kind of where it's at for me, is small local places. I'm not going to say no to a Burning Man crowd of thousands of people, but I get my most reward when I'm in a small group, intimate group of friends where I can play stuff I know we all like to listen to.
Oh, that's really great. I mean, would you say, so it sounds like you grew up around music, would you say that's kind of true?
Yeah, absolutely. And probably even more, different formats than most people my age were listening to. I was really into, kind of jazz and stuff growing up.
Cool, jazz. And I guess, who influenced you? Was it jazz influencers or other influencers that kind of...
Jazz and blues plays a huge part in it. I played in a little band for a while and played keys with the blues band. And then,
that's cool.
this definitely comes from that background, I think. And you'll hear it in some of the tracks I play. I kind of like the funky sounds.
So that's kind of your background. That's kind of what started it. You were into music around that time because of the blues stuff.
I was, and growing up in the Valley, where I did, there wasn't house music. There wasn't house clubs that you could go to. And I wasn't huge into the rave scene at that time, but I would hear the music and go, and at that time, you had songs that would sample Chicago and kind of some of the stuff I liked listening to, and I'm like, oh, this is great. And even though I'd played, top 40 in hip hop, if we had a house party, it was house music. If I was even out playing in the clubs, if it was enough of my friends were there and it was later on in the evening, we're going to hear house music for a while right now. I know this club doesn't usually play it, but there's enough of us here and we like it. So
sounds like a great choice if you ask me. And so I mean, would you say that's how you kind of got into DJing? Pretty much, that's the story.
That was the start. Yeah,
that was the start.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then you took that to a different level, obviously, and we'll definitely talk about that. But what made you realize that this is something that you want to do? Once you start DJing,
there was a little place that we used to play at in Discovery Bay that was on the water, and we'd set up there, me and the guy whose equipment I learned on. we would go and we would kind of share duties Friday nights, and it was fun and it was enjoyable, and it was, you know, the next step from the small bars we'd been playing. But
Right.
I was always kind of looking for that next big thing, and lo and behold, there was a club in Brentwood called Pee Wee's that had a giant outdoor patio, and they'd play a live band inside, and the DJ would be out in the patio. If it was wintertime and it was raining, they'd build a giant tent out on the outside on the patio, and we'd be under a tent. They'd put heaters in, and my first time going there was, we'd been playing at Woody's for maybe 6 months, and things weren't going so well over there. The owner wasn't doing a great job, and they ended early one night, and a friend said, "Hey, let's go over and check out Pee Wee's." Cool. And I left all my equipment there. We went down the street, and I'm at this place where, first of all, I love, just me personally, if I can be outside drinking, outside playing music, outside doing anything, that's it. That's the zone for me.
Sign me up.
So we go over there, and I mean, this place is just, it's cracking, dude. There had to be 600 people in this relatively smallish bar, and I thought to myself, man, I want to play here. Lo and behold, like a week later, I get a call from the guy that was the manager over there saying, "Hey, we want you and Rich to come over. When you do Friday nights, when you do Saturday nights," and we're there, and we threw crazy parties over there. The Energy 97 crew came through a couple times during the summer. We'd throw a big bash, and when we threw the parties, we kick the band out from inside, and we'd do hip hop inside, and we'd do house music outside in the patio.
I mean, it sounds really, really, really fun stuff. I mean, I could see why you'd want to keep doing it. But let's talk more about the hip hop stuff. Like, that's really interesting. Like, you know, tell me more about like your hip hop spinning days, and these are days or years or whatever it was.
Yeah. You know, I think it was easier back then. You know, we're talking 2000s up till, I didn't really give up the hip-hop sound personally until probably 2013 or 14. So not that long ago, but, you know, it seemed about the time I stopped doing it was when everything in the hip-hop sound went to mumble rap and really slow, like 68 BPM trap sounding stuff. And I was like, you know, I can't you know, make a living, so to speak, going and DJing and playing all, you know, 90s, 90s hip hop tracks and stuff like that. You got to keep up with it. And, I found myself not enjoying it as much. And at this point in my life, you know, I'm not putting food on the table as a DJ. And so if I'm not enjoying every single second that I'm doing it, then it's not a great use of my time, you know.
Gotcha. And I guess, you know, like when again, how do you feel like you know, quote unquote, broke into the industry? That means so much for different people. I feel like you've done that, and maybe you can describe when's the first time you felt like that happened? You
know, probably I shout out to my dude Veda. I probably owe a lot to him, and I owe a lot to Sid from Opulent Temple. Both things kind of happened congruently. I was doing work with Opulent Temple on a lot of Burning Man stuff, and actually with White Ocean when we built their camp back in the day. And so I was doing that, and then we threw a Wednesday night vinyl only party at a little place called The Cellar that's now closed in the city. I
used to love that place.
And
many times.
So it was a Wednesday night, like a happy hour type of thing, and we did an all vinyl set. And it was started out as, I think, 6 DJs were going to be there, and we're going to, you know, each play 45-minute set or something like that. And when all was said and done, a bunch of people flaked. Like, it was down to me, Jay Kind, and Veda were the only 3 DJs that didn't have some, you know, crazy excuse like, "Oh, well, you know, all my vinyl's hella old." Well, yeah, no kidding. Veda brought me, invited me out the following Saturday morning when he was playing his Saturday morning party at Cosmos, and, you know, we actually hung out that Wednesday night afterwards and got to know him a little bit, and that was the start of it for me. That was like cool. I played at a, you know, pretty legit San Francisco party. You know, Saturday morning at Cosmos that was a good party he was throwing. So
I would say even Cellar's a really nice place. I used to go all the time.
Yeah,
you know, even that to me would be something I think
absolutely
special. I think. But okay, so let's talk about what do you think is the biggest or most, I guess I should say, most exciting show you've ever done?
Most exciting was probably 2 years ago at Burning Man. We had our O-Pod set up, and we were. I don't think there's anybody that would hear this that would disagree that we were killing it that year. I mean, we had Monday night. We had the show going. So. Followed up after DJ Dan, who's been a huge influence for me. So I got to play after DJ Dan, and just have
on the same decks.
On the same, Saturday night at Burning Man. I think it was Saturday night. Might have been, it was Saturday night. Saturday night at Burning Man, 3 a.m. after DJ Dan was done. If I had to pick a number out, I'd say we probably had 30K plus out in front of there. I mean, we had,
Nice.
the legit half the playa was out at our stage that night, and it was, it was inspirational for sure.
That sounds really amazing. Would you say you still play styles other than house, or is it like just mostly house nowadays? I
mess around a little bit. I like to do stuff. In fact, I'm going into this camp out where I'm sure we're going to talk about that. I had an idea, and I didn't write it down on my phone, so I have to go back to it. But an idea for something I was right in the middle of a set. I was going to drop down and play a minute or so of a hip hop track that I think everybody'd go crazy over, and it'd come back in. Why not, right?
If it's a surprise, especially, that just makes it more special. You didn't expect that. Okay, so then how would you describe your current style then?
My current style, I think the funkiness of what I like comes through no matter what I'm playing, whether it's tech house, whether it's a disco-y, Sunday jams kind of sound. Even playing Sunday mornings at Monroe, I think you hear funk in almost everything I do.
Cool. And I think I've heard you play like deep stuff, like classic house, right?
Mm-hmm.
And but what would you say you like the most about maybe one of those styles or all of those styles, the deep, tech, funky, classic house stuff?
Probably just that classic house sound. Sunday afternoon at Mars when the sun's out and I'm playing stuff with a little bit of a disco-y kind of beat to it. Mm-hmm. That classic sound, that's where it all started for me, and that's still where it's at for me.
Okay. And I guess, like, what style would you say, like, your favorite mix that you've recorded is in?
Well, let's see. My favorite mix that I've recorded, from a technical standpoint, that one's more, I don't want to say, I guess electro, for lack of a better way to put it. No, even though nobody's, that's an old term now, but I still, if I'm in front of thousands of people, that sound is, I'm able to do it with that. I'm able to do what I want with kind of using that, not EDM or anything, but just like a solid kind of electro sound, for lack of a better way to put it.
No, I love that stuff. And I guess, what did you have a name for that set? And like, is there a way for like people to kind of check it out or find it or something?
It's the Burning Man set from I think White Ocean, and it's probably a couple years old now.
Okay. So SoundCloud.
Yeah, my SoundCloud's DJ Richard Mixon, and I've got everything. And then one of my most recent sets was actually my. Actually, you know what? If I'm going to put those two in the same category, my New Year's Eve set from Opulent Temple is probably that same sound. And there's some tech, there's some really hard tech in there, and I think that's probably a better one to refer people to. And then a Sunday jam session I did right here in this same place, near the beginning of the coronavirus shelter-in-place thing that we're all dealing with. And I like that. I'll listen to that one myself quite a bit. So.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, like with myself, sometimes it's I think I know what my favorite set is, and then I realize I have like a few that I have, like, let me get back to you on that.
Right. But, yeah, and then our interests change. What used to be my favorite months ago is
Okay, so I mean, how has being an engineer helped you in your DJ career? Has it helped in any way? Like, would you say?
Oh, absolutely. So that's what I wouldn't be playing at Burning Man if it wasn't for that. So we do all the fire effects for Opulent Temple, and that's when I credit them also with helping break me into the industry. Definitely that was the other 50% of it right there, and that was just me showing up, knowing how to work on things, how to fix things, being a hard worker. Because that accounts for so much when you're out there in the desert.
Have you had to like save a party by like trying to diagnose and
numerous times?
There's
been generators. There's been generators that wouldn't start because of a safety switch underneath some weird panel door that wasn't engaging, and so I actually have this. My girl will tell you, I keep a set of tools in every vehicle. There's kind of a minimal set of tools. There's a meter, there's some stuff in there, and if I'm going to a party, I got tools with me, because there's been so many times where like something shit hit the fan, and if only I could diagnose this, I could fix it, but I don't have tools with me. So that's a lesson from many years ago that I've got tools with me almost everywhere I go now.
No, that's really cool. You know, I'm amazed when I see that. I played a show with Christopher Charles, and I saw him split open a cable and solder it, and
Right.
it's like, wow, that's, you know,
Anything to keep the party going, man.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
you know, you got
We'll do
hundreds
anything
of people
just to make it
there, and what are you gonna do? Send everybody home? Like, no. Hold on a minute, I'm
you're
gonna fix it.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. Everyone hold
Right.
still. So, I mean, anything, you know, cool that you like to work on when you're not DJing, I guess, since we're kind of on that topic?
When I'm not DJing, well, man, I've got a bunch of different interests, but you know, I have my own little podcast. We built a studio out here, so this has taken a lot of my time.
Cool.
I like doing a lot of woodworking, so that's a fun thing for me. I've got a boat, so that takes time and
Right.
even more money.
Oh yeah. Awesome. So let's talk about like what are some of your like earliest bookings that considered like special for, I don't know, like getting your foot in the door, like, and maybe if you already mentioned that,
Yeah, I think I can go back to that first time playing at Pee Wee's, where, I mean, literally, it was a Halloween night, and if I was starstruck when I went in there as a patron, getting to play that first night and having hundreds of people, I should say, all dressed up in costume, just there to party. We started doing a party called Scotty Gras that was, my birthday's in February, and so it was a Mardi Gras themed party, and one of my friends said we should call it Scotty Gras, and okay. We did that, and man, the line was clear down there. I could describe it here on air, but it was like in a strip mall, and there was an Ace Hardware store probably 300 yards. It was down past the Ace Hardware store by like 10 o'clock at night, and it was like, wow, this is it. I mean, that took me from like, this is kind of fun, to, at that time I was playing vinyl, so straight up going to a record store once a week, religiously going and looking for vinyl and making sure I had whatever white label that, and I miss this part quite a bit about DJing, because you start establishing a rapport with the guy who runs the record shop, and if you do it right, he knows what you like and what you're into, and you'll come in and he'll go, hey, check this white label out. I think you might like it. And
he's like,
usually you do like it.
Me
Yeah.
while I'm playing
Usually you do like it, and usually it's that's $50 for that white label. Shit. All right. Well, I gotta have it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's something
cool,
that's
yeah. changed
changed in the industry for sure. And I'm not sure. I like laying in bed digging through tracks as much as the next guy, but there was something magical about making a trek out to a record shop, and searching for music and finding it, and knowing that you were the only person that in your area that had that, because there was one white label,
Right.
and you just bought it, and that's gone now.
And knowing, since we're talking about getting into the door, knowing that now, like, people will hear you at the club or wherever do it, right? It gives you so much more motivation when
Right.
you're going out. It's not
Right.
just you're just getting to, now you're in there, you're in. So
Yeah,
that's really cool. Okay, so you talked to the people that give you these opportunities. Do you still see them around? Like some of the people that kind of helped you up and get in there.
For the most part, yeah. There's a couple exceptions for people. There's one DJ in particular, I won't name him, I really, really looked up to, and had looked up to and like tried to emulate. When you hear somebody playing, you're like, man, that's the sound I'm looking for. That's it. That's what I want to do. And he was playing at Ruby Sky, and he was playing a lot of big gigs, and Party Drugs took over, and
Wow.
he's
Okay.
yeah. Nobody talks to him anymore, and it's just it's sad. It's a bummer. He had so much going for him, and that's a sad side to the industry sometimes.
Gotcha.
But most everybody else has given me an opportunity in one form or another. I see pretty regularly, and I'm good friends with most of them.
Nice.
Backyard barbecue
And-
kind of friendships. So.
And like, maybe how did you meet all these like DJs? Is it simple as just like playing gigs with them, or like, how did you find like?
Yeah, playing gigs with them for the most part. There's been opportunities where I've thrown a party somewhere, been part of a party, and got to, I really like this DJ sound, and but we've never played together on the same deck, so I'm gonna call him up and see if he wants to come join, and I've established some friendships that way, just inviting somebody to come
Gotcha.
play at the party and getting to know him a little bit.
It definitely sounds like a good way to do it. Do you mentioned this guy that the thing that happened to him, but is there any other DJs that like you kind of maybe look up to, any DJs in particular? you know, that maybe you used to, I guess, or it still do? Maybe
Oh yeah,
those are two
I
different
still
questions.
there's still people I look up to.
Nice.
You know, like I said, DJ Dan is from the disco
Yeah.
side of things,
Yeah.
right? Like and the fact that I've got to play with him at numerous parties, and even sat down and had dinner with the guy when we played in Modesto of all places a couple months ago. Certainly numerous people in our crew, Sid, Veda, somebody I look up
Cool.
to. So yeah,
Nice.
I would
Right.
say at this point, anybody, if I consider them a friend, in the DJ world, I consider them somebody that is worthy of respect and admiration at this point.
That's really
If I'm-
awesome.
if
That's
I'm
really awesome
Consider
stuff.
myself a friend with them.
Cool. And these are all really good DJs. Obviously, you're talking about. But what separates a really good DJ in your mind from one that's not like a really great DJ? Like maybe there's some things that make it clear. Or something.
I know a guy who has no ability to mix two songs together at all. Doesn't pretend to. Doesn't seem to even want to know how to mix the two songs together. And we'll pick jams, and we'll pick the right song to follow the right song to follow the right song, and we'll kill it when he gets up and plays music. And I only know one person like that. I think that's a rare quality, and I think he could do even better if he mixed tracks together. But I guess where I'm going with this is that I don't think it's necessarily from a technical standpoint. I think that's a big part. I don't think you want people stopping on the dance floor in between every song. But I think programming and knowing the right song to play, and this goes back to.
Okay. So song selection.
This goes back to another good friend of mine. It was an old DJ from KSFM, Alizawi, and shout out to him. We actually just went rafting for his birthday yesterday. He taught me about programming and being a radio DJ when he was teaching me all this stuff. That's a huge part. You can't play a power track after a power track after a power track after a power track. You have to.
Right.
Take people on the proverbial journey, but you also, people need breaks, and they need to, you're not going 100 miles an hour the whole time.
Yeah.
You need some familiarity in your set. People like classic house tracks because they like them, and it's okay to throw, in my world, like it's okay to be in an underground party, but all of a sudden some pop lyrics come on a track. Like it's a little familiarity, you recognize it. And, so I'm okay. I think it's all the totality of the circumstances, right? The ball is all wrapped up into one of all those things. Mm-hmm. But I think programming and your track selection, I think, is top of that list.
So that's something that you would say you see other DJs often, I don't know how often, but maybe not do so well, and that's a common thing that DJs could improve on, or is there something that you see like more common with DJs that you think could be better?
I've seen back in the Serato days numerous DJs that just had their head buried in a computer, and I used Serato for a long time, and I get it. And the first chance that I got to get a pair of CDJs and to pop a USB drive, that took me back a little closer to the days of vinyl, because they don't have something sitting in front of me that is taking all my attention away from looking at people, right? I'm 5'4". I seeing over the computer was a challenge in most DJ booths just to begin with. Yeah. So if I can take that screen away from me, now I can connect with people a little bit better. And man, the first night, again going back to DJ Dan again in Modesto, probably 7 or 8 years ago now, was the first time I played on USBs, and it was a never again moment for me. That's it. This is I have no desire to carry a computer into a club ever again.
Right. So I guess what I'm hearing is just like a little more involvement from the DJ.
I think so.
Don't just be buried into something, and like there's a whole audience that's there for you that's enjoying what you're doing. At least like do something to be there with them. I guess that's the way I would see it.
For me personally, like this doesn't work for everybody. There's a time and a place where you're up in a DJ booth, in front of thousands of people, and you're doing your thing.
Right.
I like places where I'm not standing higher than the crowd. I'm at their level.
Right.
I'm in front of them. My friends can come up and talk to me and say hi to me. You get the occasional person that's coming up and bothering you. You just, go away, whatever. But I like that. I like that interaction. I like people to be at eye level with me. And
like
not
requesting a song, you mean, or something.
Yeah,
well,
or just, I've had people get a little too chatty and like, hey, I'm at work right now. We got to talk about this later. Yeah. But maintaining that personal connection with somebody, right? I'm not a god. I'm here playing somebody else's music. for you guys to enjoy. And I'm like you, and I'm just going to be here for an hour, maybe two, and then I'll be back out there dancing with you guys to the next guy that comes up and plays after me, right? I'm not special. So that personal connection, man, for me is that's where it's at. That's why it's been so hard to do these virtual mixes, because I'm standing here by myself playing music, and as much as I like to do that, it feels an awful lot like practice with the camera angled at me.
It's
And I'm
back to getting buried into
I'm so missing that people in front of me thing that it's just and I know it's my duty. I need to do it more often. As DJs, I think it's important that we kind of keep hope alive while everybody's stuck inside. But I guess. Mental note to self, I'll be better at that now.
People want to hear great music.
You heard it here.
And you do that for them with the great music. Yeah, I definitely, that happens to me a lot, where people are talking to me while I'm playing the set, and I'm usually pretty nice. I keep talking to them, but they don't notice that I'm in the mix. And at that point, I stop talking to them, and they're like still talking to me, and it's like a one-way conversation. Like that happens.
I had a fun. If we got time for an anecdote,
of course.
So when I used to play hip hop top 40, you get requests when that happens. I mean that's just part of it. And again, I've never been too bothered by the request thing, because I've had numerous times where somebody's come up and requested a song, and I thought, that's a damn good idea. I will play that right now. And not only did I make her happy, but it was a great suggestion.
Yeah.
And then I just had just as many other times where like, get the hell out of here. I'm not going to play. It's 9:30 at night. I'm not going to play your too short track right now.
So you literally say that to them?
I'm nice about it, but I had this one case where this chick just kept coming up to me. And like, I'll play it. You got to understand, like, literally, I'll play your song in an hour. I'm not going to play it right now. Every other song, she'd come up to me. And at one point, again, this is vinyl days, I'm queuing up my record, and she comes up to me, and she pulls the headphone off of my ear to talk to me as I'm cutting a track in. And I lost my shit. I got on the mic and I said, hey, I don't come to your job and kick dicks out of your mouths. Don't bother me while I'm at work. And everybody, and she left the bar. And you know what? The end result was I wasn't bothered by her anymore. So I guess that made things better.
That's hilarious. It reminds me of in that movie, there's something about Mary, her brother, and somebody like tries to pull out his headphones.
Oh, right,
yeah,
it goes.
That's literally what I saw.
Well, I mean, you're a DJ. What, like, if you're cutting a track in, and I mean, I wasn't at the point where I was just standing there doing this. I was at the point like, okay, needle on the record, listen in, and the headphone comes off. Like, just stop the turntable right then and there. Like, okay, we're gonna have to talk about this.
This isn't working. Okay, that's a funny story there. So the other day I saw you do a back-to-back with Justin, with DJ Pulse,
right?
Justin, on the decks. And how did you meet Justin? And have you done any other fun stuff?
That's actually my love of my life, Tiani. They were good friends before I met him. And he was throwing parties at I want to say Glass Cap, but it wasn't called that. The Grand. And some other places.
I saw some of that,
yeah. And he's a cool dude, There's a lot of, I think, lack of a better way, there's a lot of, or a fair amount, I should say, of unscrupulous people, I think, in this business that are, just have questionable morals and ethics. And so as I have gotten older and I meet people, and I it's pretty easy to spot somebody that has a good-natured soul, and I think he's one of those people. And so, we bonded over that. Like, he's a good dude, and awesome. he and I have a very similar style when we're playing house music. And so, we've done a couple back-to-back sets. We've done it enough now where it becomes the thing that always happens with a back-to-back set. It's a friendly competition where I'm going to play my best song, and you're going to try and beat that with something, and then I got to beat that with something, and the crowd benefits in the end.
There's definitely a good benefit to the crowd if it gets better and better.
Right,
so that's
right.
That's really cool. So let me just quickly go back to, you mentioned Burning Man earlier. Maybe just quickly describe, like, what does that really mean to you, Burning Man? How do you feel about it, and what has it meant to you over the years?
Sure. It's to quote the thing that everybody says, that you go out there and you don't necessarily get what you want, but you get what you need. It is a fulfilling experience on so many levels, from a sensory level, on a bicycle with 70,000 other people with lights on their bicycles. And I have found enjoyment in some of the most strangest forms out there that you wouldn't necessarily feel like, okay, yeah, playing in front of thousands of people as a DJ is awesome, right? That was great. But some of my other experiences out there have been so 180 out opposite of that.
In terms of what, like 180 opposite, like,
I'll give a good example. So my first year that I went, I want to say it was Sunday night, so it was after the temple burn, and everybody's kind of chill, and I see all these lights way out towards Deep Playa, and I go out there, and there are thousands of balloons at various heights off the ground, some a foot, some 3 feet, and I don't think anything was more than maybe 10 feet up off the air. Thousands of them, all with LEDs, different color LEDs, and they were programmed to be a spectrum analyzer. So as this lady, very Sarah McLachlan sounding voice, sung these songs in a cappella, the colors of the balloons would change to make a spectrum analyzer as she was singing. Wow. Locked me in, dude. I was all 2 hours, put my bike down, and I sat Indian style and just like stuck on this for 2 hours out there. And so, it's things like that. And having gone out there, every year that I've gone out there, I mean, to say that I'm a builder when I go out there, I'm on a team of builders, is, we go out a week before and we're out there several days after, setting up some of the largest sound stages and the biggest fire effects you'll see out there. And even my most recent, I didn't go last year, but the year before, we usually are going pretty hardcore into like Tuesday night before we're on the road late Tuesday night. For whatever reason last year, by the time Monday night rolled around, we were done. We were ready to leave Tuesday morning. So I got a chance to go out Monday night after the show, after the whole thing was over, and ride my bike around in the desert. And it was crazy. Like, it's you go and experience from 70,000 people down to, where you're passing hundreds, thousands of people on a bike every minute, to where a 15-minute bike ride from one end of the clock to the other, and I'm past maybe 6 or 7 other bikes, and just saw some fire out in the distance, and there was a couple hundred people out there that were left, and this one little party, and hey, we're out in the middle of the desert, 200 of us. That's cool.
It's a cool, like, different way to look at it and see it after. I'm sure, like, before, it's also like a similar feeling when you get in there or something like that, right?
Yeah, it's quite something, and I tell, I always have friends that are asking me that want to go, and and I tell everybody, and I'll say it here, don't go out there if you're just going to show up on a Wednesday and you're just going to take and not give back. Just don't do it, because you're not going to see things from the same perspective as somebody who's gone out there and contributed to the event. So I tell people, if you know how to work on bikes, go be part of the one of the camps that repairs bikes and work a shift out there. Do something to give to it. Because if you go out there and you build something, or you do something, or you're the person in the little box that looks like a Chinese takeout and you're making dumplings, you're doing something. Cool. And you see these other art projects, and you have an understanding of the work that goes into it. And the bigger the thing that you do, the more appreciation you have for, like, wow, that, my second full-time job I did doing this thing over here, somebody else had a second full-time job doing that over there, and wow,
Cool. So it sounds like contribution is the way to go. And
absolutely,
just help out others. It's a thing that
you should absolutely go out there and do something of some sort with the camp, where you're immersed in the experience from the side of somebody who's built something there, and then from the side of somebody who can appreciate what others have built.
Sweet. And like, how many years have you been going? Like, when did you start?
My first year going there was 2013, I want to say.
Okay.
And I've missed 2 years since then.
Okay, so maybe like 5 years or something like that you've gone.
Yeah.
Cool, awesome. And I guess in those 5 years, how would you experience, like, kind of change over time?
When I started going, we'd already been, balls deep into this whole celebrity, Paris Hilton going out and taking photos of stuff. So that was already going on. So I'm not going to be the jaded burner that sits here and says, well, back in my day. But I will say that the first year that I went, I can remember Robot Heart going out as for a sunrise set at Robot Heart and hearing Scumfrog play an unabashedly open formatted. He knew the song I wanted to hear before I knew I wanted to hear it. I remember hearing Herb Alpert Rise, not a remix, not just the 98 BPM horns, amazing. And then a couple, maybe 2 years after that, just Mayan Warrior competing with Robot Heart to see who could do the most melodic, boring, put you to sleep house music set. And like, I don't like what happened to what we did a couple of years ago. That was pretty awesome. And we'd go out there several mornings, and it was always the same thing. It was just very melodic, deep house, and you want a little bit of that at the sunrise, but man, it wasn't, you know. And so many of my friends kind of felt the same way. Like, yeah, that isn't, the sunrise sets aren't what they used to be out there.
Gotcha.
You can play a sunrise set at your sound camp that you have back, but you know, everybody wants to be out in the middle of the desert when the sun comes up. So
okay, so I'm taking notes here. Too many sunrise sets. Okay, hopefully we'll figure that one out.
Maybe a better format would be.
Better format. Okay, I'll put that as number 2
for what my opinion matters. You know.
Of course, everyone's, and especially yours. And okay, so how are you involved with Opulent Temple at Burning Man?
So I'm the main electrician for the camp. Myself and my friend Steve, we are the 2 electricians for the camp. It doesn't sound like a lot, but when you've got 300 campers some years, you've got to take into account how 1 or 2 generators is going to feed, you know, 100 RVs, and some RVs are 50 amp, some are 30 amp, and it is a you can have it go one of 2 ways. You can have everybody bring their own generators out, and it's a noisy, stinky, gas-smelling, shitty thing, or you can have a main generator that's diesel-fed, that's organized and run by competent personnel, and then you grid that out like you would do a city power grid. We send out distribution panels all throughout the camp, and then there's tents, and you know, our camp, they're pretty spoiled. They get to have air conditioners in their tents and stuff like that. So we make all that happen. And the more
that happen? I'll ask you later.
the more organized and the more work we put in pre going to Playa, the more we get to enjoy ourselves when we're out there. Because nobody wants to work 24/7 out there, right? I don't want to show up, set all this stuff up for a week, and then, you know, middle of the, you know, Thursday in the middle of the party, you know, everything's gone to hell in a handbasket and I'm running around. I don't want to do that. So there's an immense amount of work that we've put in building custom distribution panels and cabling and stuff like that to make it so that we can get out there, throw stuff down, connect it up, and then boom, we're
like
on.
That's the camp that you want to be with the air conditioning.
I would, you know what, we're looked up to among most of the camps out there. I'll say that.
Cool. That's really awesome. And where's White Ocean exactly? Is that a place or?
White Ocean. So White Ocean's a dirty word now. The story of White Ocean is some people, Paul Oakenfold, that would camp with Opulent Temple, broke away with some other DJs, primarily based out of New York, and wanted to do just a big ass, badass, crazy structure out in the middle of the desert with a kind of a money's no object thing. And so we went into this understanding that we were going to be working with some Russian oligarchs, and we were going to have some of that plug and play bullshit that you don't want to deal with, but we weren't going to have to throw party after party after party to get a third of the budget we ended up having to do this thing. So here's an opportunity, and money's on the table. You know, $1.5 million to build a structure. Here you go. Go do it. And we did, and we built what we call the A3 structure. 2014, 2015, we were out there with that. And if you Google pictures of that, I mean, it's a thing to behold. Several hundred tons of steel out in the middle of the desert, a 60-foot tall DJ booth with all the legs lit up internally, and then fire coming out of the fire. Just an insane structure. But at the end of the day, the thing that happens a lot with this is that the rich Russian oligarchs are different people than us builders are, and no matter what cool things we do, we're not the same, and there becomes a disconnect, and we're not part of them anymore. Unfortunately, we were always still we didn't leave Opulent Temple on any kind of bad terms at all, and we were very much still friends with them. They understood that, hey, this is a chance for you guys to go do something you wouldn't be able to otherwise do. And so when that folded, it was back with open arms, and we're the fire effects guys for Opulent Temple now, and that's what we like to do, and we're killing it. So
sounds like a good deal. Okay, so how did you get involved with like some of the current SF clubs and groups? where you play or you're a resident at, or those kind of places?
Well, I think going back to the story like the cellar, that kind of got my foot in the door, and I meet people, and not being a piece of shit when I'm talking to people is it's a big help, right?
Gotcha.
Just being kind of a likable guy, I guess. I got to do Monroe because he was having some electrical problems, and so I kind of flipped it a little bit. I said, I'll come work on this. When's my first date playing here? Like, I don't want this.
Nice.
I don't want this exposure bucks. Come do this thing, and I'll help you. Like, book me, and then let's talk about me coming and working on the electrical issues here.
No, that's good. I see what you
and
did
it worked
there.
out like that. And I've been playing at Monroe for 4 or 5 years now. So
Monroe, that's the club you're more involved with.
That's
Like,
I'm pretty
place.
regular there on Sunday mornings.
Okay.
There's
Nice.
if you're a resident DJ there, it's about a 6 to 8 week rotation. So
Cool,
there's a lot of
cool.
DJs that play there Sunday mornings, and I'm pretty happy with that. I don't need to play every weekend at a place. I don't like to burn myself out.
Yeah, definitely been there a bunch of times.
I'm
I
an
like
old
that
man
place
now, so
Yeah, I like that place. It's a really cool place, definitely. Okay, so tougher question here. Like, how do you feel about the shutdowns of all the indoor public music venues?
man, I hate it. I mean, I understand the need to not have an indoor thing happen in terms of a nightclub thing. I less understand the need why we can't be indoors in public schools, or why we can't be in a bar. Like, we can go to a grocery store, we can go to a gas station, but if you're going in this type of business over here, then somehow the COVID guy is going to see, and he's going to attack you because he knows you're going to a bar and not a restaurant. Like, I don't subscribe to that. But
Gotcha.
a club in San Francisco with not such great ventilation and not such great AC, with everybody sweating because they've been bouncing from one warehouse to the next, and like, we're to quote Chris Rock, I'm not saying I agree with it, but I understand. But it doesn't mean that I like it at all. And it's in a weird sort of way. I think that we've gone back a little bit to how it should be. There's a little bit more underground. There's, I don't think we're ever going to get back to the point where we're with map points and some,
Well, it's
look
interesting.
under the painted rock near the phone booth kind of thing. But
Gotcha. I mean, well, because you said how it should be, instead of what I thought you would say is how it was.
well, how it was,
But you're saying
but
how it should be,
I
which
guess-
is interesting. So it's like you like.
I guess how the underground should be, right? That
Should
would be a
be,
better way. Like, we need to have bars, we need to have clubs. They need to reopen as quick as friggin' possible. But when I hear the word underground, it conjures up a certain image with me of how things were, and it seems like underground in years past has not been as undergroundish as it maybe
Right,
could be, or
right.
should
It
be.
could be a little more.
Yeah, and
underground.
so I think everything in life is all about kind of baselines and a balancing act, and so this has taken us a little bit the other direction and kind of reestablishing some roots in the underground. And while I want all my beloved clubs to open back up, I'm also enjoying what it's bringing us right now, which is some cool camp outs and some stuff, where we're doing it on our own.
Definitely, I 100% agreed. And but when it happened, and that, as it's happening right now, obviously, how do you keep yourself involved with DJing and with music now?
It happened. Let's see. I got to play a birthday set at Mars in mid-February, and then that was it. I take that back. We did a Sunday night groove at End Up, I think. That was literally like that Sunday night, and then Monday that's it. Clubs are closed. So I kept myself occupied. I did a couple mixes here. I have been doing our little podcast thing, and then I like music, so I like house music. I don't just dig through tracks and then play it. I like to listen to it. So I follow my same artists, and I go check in and I look for tracks, and maybe I'm not doing it as frequently as I was when I was DJing pretty regularly, but I'm a little barbecues, we get together and we play music and stuff, so I'm still in the game from that perspective.
That's good. That's important to stay in the game. Okay, so tell us about the Dick's show. How did you get into that? What is that?
So, again, my friend that I learned to DJ with, and he goes by DJ Riches, and of course Richard Mixon. So you know, if you don't know, Dick is a nickname for Richard. And somewhere along the line, I guess, oh gosh, when did we start this up? February, March? 4 months ago. A little bit more. So one of our friends said, "You guys should do a show," and I guess I should take you back in history a little bit. He and I were announcers for the Christmas parade in Tracy for a long time. So they would do the Christmas parade of various different things that would go through the town, and I had a sound company at that point. We'd line all of downtown, the big L shape from Central up to 10th Street. We'd line with speakers. We would put an announcer at the beginning of the L, if you will. He and I would be at the middle intersection, and then we'd have another one further up. So that way the music would be the same going through, but then the announcer would be zoned, so you wouldn't be, you know, hearing somebody talk about what was at the beginning of the float while you were all the way at the end, right?
Right.
And the first day that we did it, we had done a gig the night before. We'd partied all night. We went to some after party, and there we are with literally no sleep at 4:30 in the morning, setting speakers up, you know, in the back of a truck driving through, and just like, oh God, this is terrible. Why did we? I don't ever want to do this again. Do you? No, that's it. And so, you know, we're on the mic, and we're keeping it PG-13 at the very least, but we're just, you know, a cow comes up the street with the 4-H crowd, and oh look, Scott, it's my ex-wife's in the parade. No, Rich, that's actually a cow from the local 4-H club, right? And we're just talking crap the whole way, and people came up to us afterwards and were like, oh my God, that was great. You guys were hilarious. Nice. So then a couple more years we did that. So anyways, fast forward to this, you know, the shelter in place. One of our friends said, hey, you guys should just make a podcast and do that. And I'm not working and nobody else is working. And I'm like, well, maybe we should. Let's just try this. And so one thing led to another, and I have a studio in my house now that we do a podcast from.
It's pretty sweet. And yeah. And, you know, it sounds like there's a humorous side to this podcast. My guess is. Yeah,
we you know, I've watched as we've got serious in certain segments and watched the number of viewers just. So, yeah, we talk a lot about politics and political events. I would say, if anything, we take a pretty libertarian viewpoint to most stuff.
Gotcha.
I want less people telling me what to do. I don't need.
Like,
you know, I don't want the Democrats good, Republicans bad, or vice versa. How about, you know, neither? Less of it all together. So we poke fun. We play. You know, we've got the studio set up. We can play videos live. We can pull stuff off. Hey, look at this thing I just found on the internet. And so for an hour a week on Wednesday nights at 7, if I can plug our show, we poke fun at a lot of things and try not to get too serious and try to lighten the mood for a lot of our friends and others that are, you know, still stuck inside and not working.
It's really good to sometimes hear that and lighten people's moods these days, as you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, please keep it up. I definitely want to see the next one for sure. You know, so speaking of doing online stuff, I mean, are you doing like live streams, DJing online stuff? You know, and where can fans maybe check you out if they wanted to see you online?
So if I do a live stream, the best way probably I've given up on Facebook Live because of all the copyright issues. But adding me on Facebook, if you just look for Richard Mixon on there, and that's Mixon, and add me on there, and then that way you'll see I'll post something. If I'm on my Twitch, you'll see it pop up. Yeah, I've done a couple live streams. The one I'm actually doing now is for Tiani's birthday, and I'm way late on it. We're more than a month behind, but recorded myself DJing in front of a green screen, and we've had all of our friends send videos and photos in that I will have playing in the background. So just editing of that, if you can imagine grabbing, you know, hundreds of photos and videos and then trying to make sure you play the right thing at the right breakdown at the right track has been challenging. A full Sunday so far, and I'm 30 minutes into my hour and a half mix, but
it'll be worth it.
It'll be, yeah.
It like
we'll get
cool
it done
thing.
sooner or later.
Well, that's super cool. Like, I want to do stuff like that with green screens. I mean, that's amazing. You know, and so, you know, what kind of styles, ideas, or genres, you know, are you exploring now? Like at this moment, I guess. What is the thing that you're kind of?
Oh man, I don't know if I'm really exploring too much new stuff. I think I'm sticking to the stuff I like at this point.
Okay.
You know, stuff will pop up that I hear other DJs playing. I'm like, I kind of like that, but yeah, I'm not into any new genres. And
okay, not really trying anything new out.
Nah, I mean,
Gotcha. Okay, well, so are you looking forward to spinning a tote stock next week?
Oh, yeah, totally.
Awesome. Is there any way that we can get an air conditioning in any of the RVs or the tents?
If you guys bring your own generators, I'm not towing anything up there with me this weekend.
All right.
In fact, when I go to Burning Man, I take a carport, and then I build that, and then I put a shift pod inside the carport, and the shift pod takes about half the carport, so I've got like a little enclosed patio. And with an air conditioner, and I have filters. I'm taking a tent with me this weekend. None of that's going. So I am packing extremely light for the two of us. I figure it's going to be nice, cool evenings, so I won't need to have an air conditioner. And the rest of the time,
hot day, cool evening.
Hot day, cool evenings, which is that's my forte. We should all be outside anyways during the day.
That's true. That seems like the right thing to do. So, okay, the last thing I want to ask you today is, what's next for Richard Mixon?
What's next for Richard Mixon?
Yeah, what's next?
Well, probably marriage at some point. I'll see if my producer's paying attention to right now what I'm saying.
Nice.
I don't, it's hard to say, right? I don't have a crystal ball in front of me. I'm pretty happy where I'm at. I'm not trying. I didn't come here pretending to be some superstar DJ. I'm not, I'm not planning on going on tour anytime, nor do I have any interest in that. I'm happy playing at some of the small little places I'm at. I love playing at Mars Bar. I'll be there on August 30th.
Sweet.
With Dennis Ruiz and CJ Larson. We'll be playing there. So I like that kind of stuff, and that's where it's at for me. I'm happy.
That sounds really cool. Well, thanks for being the guest today. This is Scotty Elliott, Richard Mixon. We had music today from JohnyVinyL from On Pacheco. And I'm Jeff Poisner, DJ Recognize. Thank you guys for tuning in to the Fast Forward Podcast 3. And I hope you guys have a nice day and evening.
Thank you.